Everyone give a round of applause to Rolly as we've never been more on time to start this show here on a Monday afternoon. Harrison Graham here live on the show.
4 minutes late. There's a lot of stuff that I had to take care of today, fellas. A lot of stuff.
I tell you what, I actually am starting to like this 4 o'clock time slot on Monday and Thursdays because we put out a show earlier in the day typically, so that might be the move moving forward. We'll see what the play is on that front. But get the Rolly chants going in the comments like Wasim, William. We got DC Viper, hashtag bench Rolly. Emmanuel says Rolly 100. That must be your new
I appreciate
Loktara.
the love. I appreciate the love. Also, DC Viper stopped by actually our Broncos stream yesterday, hung out with me and Matthew Peterson for a bit.
Nice. I bet DC Viper was like, God damn, how did the Bears lose to the Broncos?
It was a good question.
The Bears should be 2-3. Pretty tough, but got to move forward. Shout out your city. Let us know where you're watching from, and then we'll hit those couple of super chats here in a moment. Loktara's got his weekly hypothetical, so we'll work him in here in just a few moments. And, yeah, that's got to happen too, Rolly. Right here, right now. Right here, right now. Shout out your city. Jose says roly-poly. We got Keith in Rockford. We got Owen in Wilmington. Eric in Waukegan. Let's see. Jose in South Chicago. Alan Melendez in Chicago. Locura in the North Pole. We got Craig in Ogden. Frankie in Vista, California. We've got Amos in Israel. P. Ray in Hardy, Arkansas. Leonard in Philadelphia. We've got Wasim in Irvine. Unapologetic Truth in Indiana. Andre in Pittsburgh. DA in Cape Coral, Florida. Let's see. Isaiah in Bend, Oregon. We've got Mike Ditka's Sunglasses in OKC. Siebert saying Bears. What's up, Siebert? Frank in Hoboken, New Jersey. We've got Sassy in Maine. Ash, Eagle Mountain, Utah. Rico in Chicago and in Knoxville. Nick Cole in Carlinville, Illinois. Appreciate you guys for shouting out your city, letting us know where you guys are watching from. What's your confidence level in the Bears beating the Vikings? Let me know. Confidence level. Bears, Vikings. Scale 1 to 10, 1 being you're not confident, 10 being you're very confident. What say you? Alan says 7. Sam says 5. Philip says 6. The Greener Bros says 6. Eric says 8. Computer Kid says 4 to 5. Christian says 6. Demarius Harris says 7. Nick Cole, 8. Chris says 5. Ash says 7. Computer says 4 to 7. DC Viper says 6. Kendre says 7. Ogden says 5. We've got another Josh saying 6.5. William Brock says 6. 8 from Unapologetic Truth. Adam saying 9. A. Davis says 10. Siebert says 5. I called this week 5 mesh and win. Unapologetic going with 8. We got Love saying 10. A. Davis 10. 6-ish from Chris. Yeah, I mean, I think the Roel makes a good point. No Jefferson's confidence level is good. We don't know that for sure, but I don't think Justin Jefferson's going to play. And if that's the case, I think the Bears have a pretty good chance of winning this game. Now, is it a given? Are they for sure going to win? Absolutely not. They've won 1 game in their last 15. But they should have beat Denver. They won last week pretty easily against Washington. So I think you got a chance against a fellow 1-4 team to come home, stack another win, and then you play the Raiders the next week. A real opportunity to rip 3 in a row off here, but it starts with Minnesota now. That's the key. So hopefully they're able to do just that. All right, before we get to these super chats, we will first talk about a word from our sponsor. Shout out to Factor for sponsoring today's live show. And what Factor is America's #1 convenient food delivered straight to your doorstep. Their #1 ready-to-eat meal kit can help you fuel up with fast, chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, and ready-to-eat meals straight to your doorstep. Rolly and I are big fans of Factor because, let's be honest, during football season, if you got kids running around too, sometimes it's hard to prepare a lot of meals at home, and Factor is going to help you out. They'll get you ready to eat meals straight to your doorstep, and they take less than 2 minutes to prepare because all the preparation's been done for you. If they're microwavable meals from Factor, pop in the microwave for a couple of minutes, they're good to go. Some of them aren't even microwave necessary. If you're someone who travels, maybe you're for work, maybe you're a trucker or something else, you can get bowls to take with you on the run as well. They've got gourmet plus options if you want to level up. They've got caloric-free options. They've got it all. Factor's got really delicious food that's going to be healthy for you and easy to prepare in just a couple of minutes. So here's what you do. Get started with Factor today, right now. Factormeals.com/BearsChat50. That is factormeals.com/BearsChat50. Use code BearsChat50. That's going to get you 50% off, half off to give this a try at first, and then trust me, you're going to really like it after that. Factormeals.com/BearsChat50 to get 50% off. Get started with Factor today. Meals straight to your doorstep. Shout out to Sam Lakhtara, our weekly hypothetical life or death situation, he says. Would you rather save 1,000 random people you'll never meet or save one person you're very close with? And Rolly will chime in here as well. I've actually heard this one before.
Yeah.
I think the way I would answer this, if it's my wife or son, I'm choosing them. Maybe that's selfish of me, but that's my ride or dies right there. If it's probably anyone else, maybe there's a few, my sister or my parents maybe would be in that category, but I think even my parents would be like, we're 60 or so. Go save the 1,000 randos. I think in most cases I would choose 1,000, but if it's my wife or kid, I think I would have to go in that direction. Rolly, feel free to chime in here. Feel free to call me an asshole if that's what you think.
So you went with the one person?
I said if it's my wife or kid, I would have to go one. If it's anyone else,
what if you didn't know?
If I didn't know,
it was just someone close to you. Technically, I'd say close to you.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm probably going 1,000 people.
Yeah, I just think if you don't know who it is, I think you got to go 1,000. Because there's a lot of people that are close to me, but I think even they would be like, yeah, dude, just save the 1,000. So I think I'd go 1,000, but it depends. If you know who it is, it's a little different. It's a tough one though. Lochte, you chime in. I want to hear what you have to say. Tito with the 5. This was quite a super chat. Harrison, do you have the phone number of a battered woman shelter? First of all, I don't think you're making light of it, but yeah, I did give you a beat down at fantasy, Tito. I got to be honest. This was a bloodbath. For those who don't know or forgot, we do have our Bears Now fantasy football leagues. First of all, the new running bit is Rolly is now 0-5.
I'm tanking.
He's taking for the number 1 pick.
Yeah, I'm going for the number 1 pick.
Taking for the number 1 pick. And I just smacked Tito 172-117, and I've got Christian Watson tonight as well. I might just bench him. Load management. Put Christian Watson on the bench. But yeah, I've rallied to win 3 in a row. I'm going to be 3-2 now. So yeah, Tito, I've gotten it rolling a little bit here. Sangray Kim, I'm very happy. Buston's been playing well. We can get a higher draft pick for him when we trade him. We can then start over with Caleb and Ben Johnson. I do really like Ben Johnson. That's for sure. And I really like Caleb Williams. But I think, listen, I'm excited to watch Justin Fields the next 12 weeks. I want to see how he plays. I said it last week. Him playing well is only a good thing. A, he can prove he's the long-term guy. Or B, to your point, Sangray Kim, if you do decide to move on, it can help us trade value. So him playing well is a good thing. You don't need to be a team that tanks because you've got Carolina's pick, and they're going to do the tanking for you. So I think the Bears are in a good spot in that regard. Owen Spencer with the 10. Appreciate the super chats, guys. How about we send our pick, not Carolina's, to Carolina for Brian Burns? Walker and Robinson have 5 pressures combined. Burns is getting to be traded is begging to be traded at this point. Get him before week 8. Well, I did see, so Carolina wants a top receiver, and ironically, because they gave up DJ Moore. Thank you, Carolina, for including him in the trade. I like Brian Burns a lot. I don't think I can trade my pick right now, though. if I'm Chicago. Like, that pick could still be really high. I don't know if I can go that route right now. So keep that in mind. But I hear what you're saying. I would love to get a young and ascending pass rusher that could be here for a long time. But I don't think I'm trading either of my first-round picks at the trade deadline. Isaiah says weekly, FGB, FGB, FGB. Get the FGBs going for Isaiah. Let's get it popping. If the Packers lose tonight, then the Bears are only one game back of them in the NFC North. They're tied with the Vikings at that standpoint. I'll tell you what, if the Packers lose tonight, the Detroit Lions, like, it's not over, but kind of feels over in the NFC North. But
they're a good ball club over there.
They're good, and the rest of the division has not proven to be so good. Unfortunately, the Packers will probably win tonight because the Raiders are bad.
I hope the Raiders win. I want the Raiders to get a second win.
I do too. I know where you're going with this, Rolly.
Drake May to New England.
Yeah, Rolly wants Drake May in New England.
No longer
he's
Drake
out on
May
Mac
to
Jones.
Chicago.
He's out on Mac Jones. He wants Drake May in New England. All right,
those like numbers up.
Let's
Harrison,
go.
We have 370 people watching, only 50 likes. Hit that like button. Let's get to 125. 75 more likes, and then we can start today's show. Come on. The Bears are coming off a win. We got to enjoy football this weekend without any stress.
Stress-free Sunday was nice. It was nice. Get the vibes up. Like the video. Don Burr loves himself some Sam Laporta.
He's a good ball player.
He's good, man. I'll give the Lions that. He's good. Aiden Hutchinson's a stud too.
Yeah, he's a stud.
I can't. The Jags taking and Trayvon Walker's not bad, but taking him over Hutch, that was a decision.
I was always Team Hutchinson.
Same.
20 likes away. Come on, hit that button, then we can start today's show because we have a good one.
That was an example of the RAS charts being relied upon too much.
Yep.
Like, just watch the guys. Like, Hutch is a superstar in the making. All right, keep hitting that like button. Here's what's coming up here on Chicago Bears Now. We've got the latest Bears news and rumors, some key injury news and notes to discuss, and some other storylines as well. So keep up to date with that. Live Q&A, hashtag Bears or Super Chat to get your questions in. If you Super Chat, guaranteed to get on the show. By the way, as always, $100 Super Chats get you in the Bears Now Helmet Hall of Fame. A lot of people in there now. Shout out to a couple people who bought other people's stickers during the watch party as well. I thought that was a cool gesture, so shout out to those of you who did that. And then we got some trade targets to take a look at. NFL trade deadline here in about 3 weeks. So could the Bears make a trade or two? I've got 5 players I'm keeping an eye on over the next few weeks that Chicago could consider bringing in, especially if they win a game or two here. Look, if they lose to Minnesota, they're probably not making a splashy trade. But if they win this week, win next week, it's 3-4. Maybe they try and bring in a player to make a push. So all that and more is coming up here on today's live edition of Chicago Bears Now. Is Kyler Gordon set to make his return to the Chicago Bears? That's where we kick things off here on today's show. My name is Harrison Graham. The Bears have designated Gordon to return from IR. And remember, all that means is that opens up his 21-day practice window, gives the Bears that much time to activate him to the active roster or shut him down for the season. Definitely don't think it's the latter. I do think he's going to be back in this 21-day window, and I think he's going to be back this week. I feel pretty good about that. I mean, Tevin Jenkins on a short week coming off IR was able to play about half the snaps against Washington. So I expect Gordon back this week. There was a report after, I think, the Week 3 game against Kansas City, that Gordon was seen without a cast on. So I think he's been trending in this direction for a while, and now that he's sat out his minimum required 4 games for being on injured reserve, I do think activating him this week is very likely, which is a really nice development for a secondary that's been beat up. And I think we're trending back in the right direction because Jaylon Johnson said over the weekend that he plans to play this week. Now, we won't have the official injury report until Wednesday, but he's missed the past couple of games, the hamstring injury. I think with the extra time between weeks 4 or 5 and 6, I think him returning is pretty likely. Eddie Jackson, we'll see. He's had that foot issue. Hopefully he's able to return. If he does, Obviously, Josh Blackwell on IR as well. He's not eligible to return yet. But if Jackson also returns, assuming Gordon and Johnson do, you got your full secondary healthy. And again, Johnson on 670 The Score this weekend said, I'm, quote, for sure returning this week. So sounds like he's good to go. I believe Kyler Gordon's going to get activated as well. And that's a really positive development because if you get Johnson back on the outside, Tyreek Stevenson's gotten a lot of valuable experience. I also want to shout out Terrell Smith, the other rookie corner, who played really well the other night. I do wonder if there's still a role for him to rotate in because I think he's been trending up, but we'll see what happens there. But you get Gordon back in the nickel, you're getting healthy at the right time when you really have to make a move here. So that's pretty nice to see. Johnson, Gordon likely returning, hopefully Eddie Jackson as well. And I think the flip side of the coin too is you got to see some other players get some experience and in some cases really start to make some plays. I thought Greg Stroman played admirably the last couple of weeks. I mentioned Terrell Smith. I think he's done some good things. I think Elijah Hicks has been up and down, but at times he's made some plays, and regardless, he's been able to gain that experience. So, look, when injuries strike in the NFL, people got to step up, and I don't think it was always the prettiest level of play, but I thought in some cases we saw some players take advantage of those opportunities. Now, if you're excited for the rest of the Bears season like I am, type me down below. Listen, this team's trending up. They're finally starting to play like the team we thought we could get this year. Is it too little too late? I hope not. You still have 12 games left, but certainly behind the 8 ball if you're trying to make the playoffs. But either way, I'm excited. It's been fun to watch this team the past couple of weeks. Type me in the comments if you're fired up for the rest of this season. Now, here was an interesting one. Doug Kramer's practice window has been opened as well. Again, that gives the Bears 21 days to either bring him back from IR or to shut him down for the season on season-ending injured reserve. And the reason I think this one is actually pretty interesting is because the Bears have a surplus at the center position. Now, I don't mean a surplus in terms of like awesome long-term options, but if he's activated, you have 4 centers. You've got Cody Whitehair, who can also play guard and has played guard. Lucas Patrick, who can also play guard, but when he's played center. Dan Feeney, who we haven't seen much of at all since the Bears traded a 6th-round pick for him. He can also play guard and center, but I think his best position is center. And then Doug Kramer, who really is only a center, 6th-round pick from last year. And the reason I think this is interesting is I just wonder, could this mean Feeney or Lucas Patrick gets cut? If they activate Doug Kramer to the 53-man roster, does it make sense from a roster construction standpoint to carry 4 centers on the 53? I'm not sure that it does because you think about the rest of the offensive linemen too. Braxton Jones ideally is going to be back in a few weeks. You got Larry Borum. You can't kick him off. He's your swing tackle. He's been playing. Obviously, Darnell Wright, Nate Davis, they're not going anywhere. Devin Jenkins isn't going anywhere. So you're going to carry all those guys plus your Tyree Carter plus 4 centers. I don't see it. Like, I just wonder if a move could be coming. Now, there could be a scenario where they just want to see Doug Kramer practice, and if he doesn't look the part, they could just IR stash him, keep him on season-ending IR. But I do think that's something to monitor in the next couple of weeks to see, because it's not like Kramer would be activated to start, whereas a guy like Kyler Gordon, obviously, if he does get activated, he will be in the starting lineup. Okay, today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Guys, I've been having a blast this football season with daily fantasy sports back in my life, because the beauty of Prize Picks is, listen, if you're normal fantasy teams, if you're already behind the 8 ball, or if you're just looking to add to that, daily fantasy is where it's at, man. NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, you can make picks every single day. So here's how it works. You pick 2 to 6 players that will go for more or less than their Prize Picks projection, and you can win up to 25 times your money. Now, with the pick 2, it's just winning 3 times your money. Here are my picks for Monday Night Football. Less than 242.5 passing yards for Jimmy Garoppolo. I like the more than for Devontae Adams. Revenge game against the Packers. I think he goes off, but I don't think he goes off enough where Jimmy G is going to have a 250-plus yard day or something like that. So that's my pick 2 for tonight's game. 20 to win 60 is what I got rocking tonight. Get started with Prize Picks right now at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use our code CLNS to get a 100 deposit match, up to $100, I should say. You put in 50, they'll give you 50. You put in 100, they'll give you 100. You're not playing sharks. You're not playing pros. It's just you versus the projections with Prize Picks. That link and promo code of prizepicks.com/CLNS, code CLNS, is in the description and comments of this video. Could the Bears sign veteran pass rusher Carrie Haider. Now, the San Francisco 49ers released Haider after they traded for Randy Gregory late last week. That was actually on the same day that the Bears traded Chase Claypool to the Miami Dolphins. So Haider's just sitting there. He's available, and he's got some veteran experience. Now, the last 3 years, he has not had nearly the production that he had, say, in 2020, right? When he had 8.5 sacks, 10 TFLs for San Francisco. Now, part of that is, back then he was more of a full-time starter. Now he's kind of just a specific rotation edge rusher in certain situations. So I don't think if you bring in a guy like this, you're expecting him to give you 6 to 8 sacks the rest of the season like that. And look, I don't have huge interest. He's 32. This is a team that's gone young for the most part. Would I be opposed to bringing him in here on a vet minimum deal for the rest of the season over a guy like Khalid Kareem, who's now on IR and has not played a snap for this team? I'm not completely opposed to that. Dominique Robinson's not showing you much, but again, even though this front four isn't giving you much, are you going to bench Yannick Ngakoue for him, DeMarcus Walker, or even Rasheem Green? Probably not. Would he give you more than Dominique Robinson? Probably. He can also kick inside. He's 270. So again, if it's vet minimum, sure, but this is not some piece you can build with long term. So I don't have huge interest. I had a few people asking me about it after he got cut. I saw Bears Twitter was like, oh, bring in Carrie Haider. And again, I'm not opposed, but it's not like this is a season changer if you bring him in. It's not like the excitement we got when we signed Yannick Ngakoue. Oh man, this guy's never had less than 8 sacks, and he's honestly been pretty underwhelming. He's up to 2 sacks in 5 games now, so hopefully Ngakoue can get going. But Carrie Haider, not really a needle mover. Now, name a player that you guys think the Bears should sign or trade for. Is there someone out there on the trade market or in free agency that you're like, yeah, man, bring this guy in here, Ryan Poles, let's go. Let me know who that player is down in the comments below. All right, we've got some early returns on our week-long subscriber battle with Vikings Now. I told you on our preview video earlier today that Patrick Seatman, host of Vikings Now, challenged us to a sub battle this week. We got the early advantage, 27-13, but as I mentioned earlier, I want to destroy Vikings Now in subscribers. That way the Bears can destroy the Vikings this Sunday as well. If you want daily content on the Chicago Bears, be sure to hit that subscribe button. All right, let's explore the latest draft situation and scenarios for the Chicago Bears. The Bears still do hold the top 2 picks in the NFL draft despite finally winning a game, because guess who did not win a game? That would be the Carolina Panthers, who got boat raced by the Detroit Lions. So now the Bears still have the top 2 picks. They just flipped. Carolina's pick is now number 1, which of course comes to Chicago. The Bears fall to that number 2 slot based on strength of schedule. Then you've got a bunch of one-win teams, though. So, if the Bears do start winning, that pick is going to move up a little bit. But I still think that's okay. This situation's playing out perfectly. Now, perfect would be the Bears are at least 2-3 or 3-2, and they're actually playing winning football consistently. They've only won 1 game. But what's nice is the Bears should not be feeling like they need to tank. Carolina's going to do that for you. Now, they may not land the number 1 pick, and maybe Bryce Young later in the year figures some things out, and they win 4 or 5 games, and that pick goes to 3 or 4 or something like that. But I would be absolutely shocked if that pick fell outside the top 5. And I think they're a clear favorite to get that top selection because that Panthers offensive line sucks. That wide receiver core is horrible. There's a reason they want to get Bryce Young more weapons. And the defense is underperforming. So, Carolina's in trouble, and that's very good news for the Bears because they got their number 1 pick this year, or first-round pick this year, which is very, very nice, I must add. Will the Bears land the number 1 pick? What do you think? Do they get that top selection? And again, it doesn't matter which pick it is, their own or the Panthers. Type 1 for yes, type 0 for no. Probability and odds would still say 0 for no, take the field, but I think they're the favorite to get it because they have the top 2 picks right now. So I'm going to be optimistic. I'm typing my 1 for yes. Thank you, Carolina. We'll take that number 1 pick, and the Bears can figure out in April what they want to do with it. All right, a little bit of news before we get out of here. Nathan Peterman is back on the practice squad this time. The Bears cut Deslin Alexander, UDFA rookie, off of the practice squad to make room for him. Look, I've told you this before. I'll tell you again. The Bears value him in the quarterback room. They just do. Now, Tyson Bagent is firmly the backup at this point. Justin Fields obviously playing well. He's the starter. I do think Fields values Peterman's ear, and I think the coaching staff does as well. So Peterman is back in the fold. And just one more note. Matt Eberflus said at his press conference today that they are exploring adding a defensive analyst to the staff to help just take on the film review stuff, weekly schematic preparation things to get ready for games, because obviously with Alan Williams out of the fold, not only is Flus having to call the defense on game days, but he's having to lead the entire preparation from a defensive standpoint. So I think just taking some of that work off his plate from a Monday through Saturday preparation standpoint is something that's helpful. It will not be Rod Marinelli, Matt Eberflus's mentor. He said that he is happy in retirement, so they're considering a few names, and Flus did say if they bring someone in, they hope to do so soon. So I would guess if they bring someone in, it'll probably be this week. All right, appreciate you guys for tuning in to today's show, latest Bears news and rumors. Again, subscribe, help us out. Let's beat Vikings now and new subs this week. Oh, from Michael Horowitz. Mini boom. I'll tell you what, I wasn't planning on doing any beer bongs today, but screw it. Fuck it. $50. I'll do a beer bong. So there's one that I owe. We'll bring the ammunition in here in a little bit. Shout out to Michael saying F the Vikings. Get F Minnesota in the chat. And let's go. Let's beat the Vikes this week. Beat the Vikes this week. Beat the Raiders next week. Season's back on. Don't want to look too far ahead, but opportunity is there. That's all you can ask. Opportunity is there. Michael, I will knock out that beer bong for you before we sign off today. If anyone wants to match him, we will load those up as well. All right, hashtag Bears or Super Chat to get your questions on the show. Michael, I'll also give you the option if you want to go a second 50. If you'd rather do a sticker, we can do that too, but otherwise I will do a beer bong for you. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat to get your questions answered here on the show. If you want to ask about trades, if you want to ask about the upcoming game, if you want to ask about anything, there's two ways to get on the show. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat.
Not a lot of questions so far, Harrison. Bears fans, what's good?
You want to go get me a beer bong while questions are loading up?
Listen, we want to answer your questions, give back a bit.
Got to get some questions in there.
None of you guys are taking advantage of it right now. There's only like 5 questions.
Oh, man. That is disappointing. How about Josh Norman getting signed by the Bills? Like, how is he still getting contracts in the year of 2023? How old? I got to look this up. Any guesses on Josh Norman? 8? Say what? Yeah. Josh Norman is 35. How is he still getting deals? How is he still getting deals? Okay. Super chat from the Bears. We'll answer that in our mailbag as well. Draft Olu Fashanu from Scotty. Throw hashtag Bears on there. We can answer that question during the mailbag. But I like Olu. He's up there for me. He's someone I would be very happy with if they drafted him. Stone, you can't put a space between the hashtag and Bears. It's got to be all one word so our software picks it up. Hashtag Bears. You get Bagent, will get playing time this year. Hashtag Bears. Let's see here. Sean Deacons. Any chance we keep Fields and still have the #1 overall pick and don't get Caleb Williams? That's a good question, Sean. If you throw hashtag Bears on it, we'll be able to put that on the show. Otherwise, we're not able to. But that is a good question. All right, I'm going to knock this out now. I'm just feeling it. Shout out to Michael Horowitz. Cheers, Michael. All right, couple super chats came in, more hashtag Bears. We'll get those questions in early on in this mailbag, so keep loading them up. Hashtag Bears or super chat. Let's dive in here on today's show. In just a second when Rolly's ready. Oh, presented by. You're all good. All right. Hashtag Bears Super Chat. We're ready to roll. Let's dive into this mailbag. We're going to take all of your questions on today's Chicago Bears mailbag. My name is Harrison Graham, but I did want to start with this rumor that's been floating out there. Could the Bears trade for Frank Clark, who, of course, was with the Chiefs for a long time? Ryan Poles was in that front office. The Broncos signed him late in free agency this year. Report out of Denver is that Frank Clark and several other players could be made available on the NFL trade market. Now, my instant reaction to this is, Frank Clark is not what he once was. He's battled injuries the last few years. He's only played in 2 games this year because of that, has 0 sacks, is not even starting when he is healthy. So, it's one of those deals where it's like, I don't know how interested I honestly am at this point. Now, what I will say is this pass rush could use as much help as it can get, right? I know the Bears had 5 sacks last week, but only 3 were from defensive line, and they were late in the game. The D-line ones. Like, Flus is having to dial up more blitzes, which he should, because the front 4 can't get home consistently. My point, though, is Frank Clark has not been a high sack guy in years. He has not had more than 6 sacks in a season since 2019. That's not even, that's a career ago for some players in this league. So I'm not interested. He's a rental. Like, that's a trade that a veteran team makes to try and get over the hump. Honestly, a team like the Chiefs to try and bring a familiar face back to make a late push. So I don't think the Bears are that team, but obviously the Ryan Poles connection makes it interesting, and we know that this defensive line has had its struggles. But maybe you disagree with me. Should the Bears trade for Frank Clark? Type T for trade, or you can type P for pass. I'm passing on Frank Clark. I don't think it makes sense given his contract and where the Bears are right now, but at the end of the day, I guess he would help this defensive line, but I'm still going to pass. I hope you guys don't pass on subscribing to the channel. This is the real number in real time if you're watching live right now. If you're watching this later, hopefully we've hit 76,000 subscribers, but we're trying to get to 76,000 subs because we're growing, and you guys are awesome, and we appreciate everybody who's subbed already. Type sub if you are a subscriber, but if you have not subscribed, what are you waiting for? It's 100% free. You could be the 76,000th subscriber. So if you want daily content, news, rumors, injury updates, and a lot more, let's get to 76,000. Come on, hit that sub button. We lost one. Oh, no. 7 away. My heart just got broken. The Bears, is the Terrell Lewis cut coming back to bite us? I don't know. I mean, you can't tell me he'd be worse than Domrob, but at the same time, if he was that good, wouldn't he be playing somewhere? Isn't he still on the Saints practice squad? I would have kept him. I don't know why they cut him and brought in Khalid Kareem, who wasn't active the first few weeks, then went to IR. Kind of feels weird. Wasim. He says, Bear down, FGB, F Minnesota, F Detroit, and F Don Burr, who of course is our resident Lions fan. What's the probability Roschon plays this weekend? It's hard to know. 50-50. If it was not a long week, like if it wasn't 10 days between games, I'd say it's like 20%. Typically, with the modern concussion protocols, if you get a concussion on Sunday and your team plays the next Sunday, it's, I'd say, 1 in 5 chance that that player plays. But with the Bears playing on Thursday, having the 2.5 extra days, I do think there's a decent chance. So 40%, 50%. I don't know if it's great odds, but I think there's a chance he clears protocol. Papi Chulo sits. Bears trade the number 1 pick to the Cowboys for Micah Parsons. Honestly, no. Not the number 1 pick. Now, if you wanted to trade the lower of your 2 picks for Micah Parsons and maybe even add a 2nd pick, I would consider that, but I don't think I can trade the number 1 overall player for 1 defensive player. Or number 1 overall pick for 1 defensive player. I know that sounds crazy. Parsons is unreal, but I think you can get more in a trade for that pick because teams want Caleb Williams that bad. So I don't think I would go that route. I appreciate the super chat. It's an interesting idea, but I think I would have to hang on to that pick and hope for a bigger trade package. Now, if you want to get great meals, quick, easy, and for 50% off Factor is the company for you. Factormeals.com/BearsChat50. Code BearsChat50 gets 50% off, helps you get started today. Adjust your stride this autumn without missing a step. Choose from Factor's 34-plus weekly flavor-packed, fresh and never frozen meals that are ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Producer Rolly and I's favorite one that we've had so far, that loaded bacon chicken. It is fantastic. Maybe you're looking for calorie-conscious options during the busy season. Try delicious dietitian-approved calorie smart meals with around or less than 550 calories per serving. They have all kinds of meal options. They have protein shakes, breakfast, lunch, dinner, different options available. The best part and the most consistent part about all of it, takes less than 2 minutes to prepare because they've done the preparation for you. If it's a microwave meal, you throw it in there for 2 minutes, you're good to go. Some of them are non-microwavable, and they're just little grain bowls, protein shakes, whatever. You take them with you, boom, ready to go. Get going with Factor today. They will deliver these meals straight to your doorstep. You can choose exactly what you want. Head over to factormeals.com/BearsChat50. Use code BearsChat50 to get 50% off. That is code BearsChat50 at factormeals.com/BearsChat50 for 50% off. Pick your meals, prepped and cooked to perfection. Heat, eat, and enjoy. You're not going to be disappointed with Factor. F. Marsh. She says, if the Giants trade Leonard Williams, how much would you give up for him? I actually talked to Marsh about this because he's our Giants now host of our Giants channel here at Chat Sports. And you just look at the numbers here, contract year. I kind of guessed it was like a second, third round pick. He's been good in the past. But now looking at the numbers, the descending sack totals and overall production, he said maybe like a fourth round pick because he is going to be a rental for a team. So quick trade idea just cooked up here. Fourth, the Philadelphia pick, the one you got in the trade down on draft night last year with when they got up and got Jalen Carter. Late fourth round pick, most likely, unless Philadelphia collapses. So I'd be intrigued. I mean, I think if you're going to trade for Leonard Williams, you'd want to give him maybe a 2-year extension, keep him here for a couple of years. He's been a good player in the past. What say you? Would you do this trade to bolster your defensive line? Type Y for yes, or you can type in for no. I wish I was getting Leonard Williams from a couple of years ago. I still think he's got some of that in him, but he definitely doesn't appear to be in peak form at this point. Y for yes and for no. Would you do this trade for Leonard Williams? DC Viper, could the Bears trade in division for an edge like Danielle Hunter? Well, the Bears are going to get a up-close look this week at Danielle Hunter. I'd be open to that. I'm not trading either of my first-round picks to do it, but would I trade a second-round pick? Maybe. What you don't want is a Claypool 2.0 situation where you trade a premium pick and you get nothing. Now, I got to think a guy like Danielle Hunter is going to give you a lot more than a player like Chase Claypool, but I do wonder if that thought crosses Ryan Pohl's mind of, hey, I got to be careful here. I can't make the same mistake twice. Ben Seaton, do you think the offense is turning a corner despite all the injuries? Absolutely. Like, the last 2 weeks has been a completely different offense. There's just no doubt about it. That's regardless of opponent. Like, I know Washington, their rankings defensively this year are lower than expected. That's still a tough front to deal with, and you're dealing with a banged-up offensive line that held up against that group. I thought that was impressive. Justin Fields definitely looks like a more confident quarterback, and DJ Moore is just making plays all over the place. So I definitely think they're turning a corner. Now, is it like they've turned such a corner that they're going to blow out the rest of the season? I wouldn't say that. I think we need to see more, but I'd feel pretty good about where this offense is heading right now. Computer Kid, what do we need to do to be a contender? Well, your quarterback needs to keep playing well. I think you need to stay balanced on offense. I like the explosive plays you're getting, but if you can continue to run the football effectively and chew some clock when you need to, that's huge. I mean, teams that can, especially late in these games, get into that 4-minute offense mode and just really pound the rock and throw play action off of that to extend drives. Like that, I don't know, if you watch Chiefs-Jets a couple of Sunday nights ago, the 8-minute drive for KC to ice that game, that stuff like that, right? That's what the really good teams do. So they got to do that, and they got to be opportunistic defensively. I don't think this defense is going to be awesome, but 2 takeaways the other night, 5 sacks. If you can get the quarterback down and get a couple of takeaways, then you got a chance. That's what they need to do. Now, are they going to be a true contender this year? I doubt it. Could they sneak back into playoff contention? Well, you win the next 2 weeks. You get to 3-4. Heading into Sunday night against the Chargers, you're back in the hunt. Get back into the hunt. That's all I'm asking. Your boy Boogie, do you guys still think Flus will be fired after the season? I mean, if the season ended right now, I'd probably say yes. You're 1-4. He's 4-19 overall now. Is that correct math? 17 games last year, 5 this year. No, 4-18. Yeah, I mean, if it ended like this, but if they rally to 7-10, he'll probably survive. Now, do I want that? Probably not. But let's see how it plays out. I'm willing to see this play out. But he still has a lot to prove, in my opinion. Who you got this week? Big game. Pair of 1-4 teams. I'll tell you what, for a pair of 1-4 matchups, this feels like a pretty exciting game. Both offenses are good. Both teams are desperate, especially the Vikings, I would think. They've lost a bunch of close games. Obviously, the Bears know they started behind the 8 ball. This should be a fun game. Type CHI for the Bears or MIN for the Vikes. Let me know who you got in this matchup. TU Box, do you think Darnell Mooney is going to do something? I think so. Look, he got open a few times in that Commanders game. Him and Fields didn't connect. I thought on the first play of the game, if Mooney keeps running, it's not a perfect throw, but I think he's got a chance to catch it. Instead, he kind of got turned around and tried to jump back for it and was unable to get that one. Fields missed him on another deep crosser. I talked about that on our Bears-Vikings preview video. Go check that out by subscribing. If that connection could get going, then this offense really is going to be tough to stop. Stone Palco, do you think the front office should stay back on deadline day or be aggressive? I got to see how the next couple weeks go. I'm open to making trades. I don't think there's a single trade out there where I would trade one of the first-round picks. I don't. I'd be hesitant to trade a second-round pick, but for a young, proven asset, like more proven than Chase Claypool, for example, I'd be open to it. But I could see this team being like, middle of the road trade, like trade a 4th-round pick for a pass rusher that can help you or something like that. So I think mildly aggressive could be in the cards, but I think it depends on how the wins and losses go over the next couple weeks. Season Dragon, what pick is the highest you would pick an edge in the draft? Who are the best edge prospects in this draft? Well, you got Dallas Turner out of Bama. You got Jared Verse out of Florida State. I think it's in flux right now, obviously. I think, in that 5-ish range, I think players that for sure should go ahead of them, Caleb Williams, Drake May, and I'm not just saying who the Bears could draft, just in general, players that would go ahead of them. Those 2 quarterbacks, I think Olu Fashanu, Marvin Harrison, and probably even Brock Bowers. I think those 5 players are the 5 blue-chip prospects right now. I think Jared Verse is right after that. I think Dallas Turner is in the mix there as well. So, between 5 and 10, I think. So, if you got 2 top 4 picks, I don't know if I'm taking an edge at 4. And maybe I'm trading down to get one, but that's just kind of where I see it right now. 2.0, 1 point, is Justin Fields safe? Is it a winning record or personal growth more important? I think how he plays is most important. Now, you can't be 3-14 like last year, but if he plays well as a passer, like he has the last couple of weeks, and they get to 7-10, if he throws for 3,830 plus touchdowns, that's substantial growth. He threw for less than 2,300 last year. Now, he's not going to run for 11-something like he did last year, but that's okay. He's looking to throw the ball downfield. If he throws for north of 3,500 and runs for well over 500, which he's still on pace to do, that's 4,000 plus yards, and he's on pace to throw for 37 touchdowns. Did any of us think that was possibly in the cards? I don't know if he'll get to 37, but 30 plus is definitely attainable. So, I like how he's looked the last 2 weeks. Let's keep building on it. All right, if we didn't get to your question, I apologize. At HGramNFL on Instagram and on Twitter is where you can ask. I got a lot of DMs to catch up on. I will do that before our next live stream, I promise. So hit me up at HGramNFL if you got any Bears questions. All right, who you got on Sunday? Any early prediction, Rolly?
Soldier or Minnesota?
Soldier Field. Ooh.
Yeah, I'll flash in a second. Give me...
If Jefferson's out,
okay, so...
I like the Bears at home. even though they haven't won at home in a while.
If we're doing two predictions, one with Jefferson playing, one with him not playing. Let's say Justin Jefferson does play. Vikings 38, Bears 28.
Okay.
If Justin Jefferson doesn't play, Bears 31, Vikings 27.
Okay. I said Bears 31-24 if Jefferson doesn't play. Look, if Jefferson doesn't play, I still don't think this defense is going to shut them down, but the Bears have actually kind of sneakily been good against the run. They played really well against the run the other night. And the Vikings' run game has been horrible. So I'm not worried about the Vikes running the football. But the Bears can't get home with 4, and if Jefferson plays, that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. But if he doesn't, there's really no excuse, really. Like, if Jefferson's out, you should be able to hold this team to less than 25. Because they're one-dimensional already, and their best player's out. I don't think that's an unreasonable expectation. Like, 24 or less should be the goal. 24 or less should be the goal. So if Jefferson's out, I like the Bears. If he's in, I'd probably lean Minnesota, but I still think it's a winnable game. Your offense is going to have to score 30+. May have to score 30+ regardless, but they've scored 28 and 40 the last 2 weeks. So, and Minnesota's defense is, I'd say it's probably on par with Washington. Might be slightly better statistically, but it's not a world beater defense. Hey, we crossed 76,000 subscribers. Pat on the back to everyone in the chat. 76,000 subscribers. That puts us less than 24,000 away from 100,000. Can we get there by the Super Bowl? I don't know.
24,000?
I mean, we're getting over 1,000 a week. Let's say we get 1,000 a week through week. Oh no!
What the hell? What the fuck?
Who in the chat is doing this to me?
What the fuck?
I'm in shambles. Look at this.
You guys are being mean.
That's Don Burr. I guarantee you if I went sub-only chat, Don Burr's name would not appear.
What the fuck?
That's unbelievable. DC says the same thing.
Everyone's laughing. It's just going down. All right.
I'm disappointed.
I'm disgusted. Oh, it's just getting worse and worse. They're being mean.
I'm sad.
Real talk though,
sad.
By next football season, I feel like that might be a lock.
Yeah, I think by next season. I think maybe even by the draft.
I think the draft is what.
I mean, let's just say 13 more weeks, 12 more games. Let's just say it's right at 1,000 a week. That would get us what? 87, 88. You're not going to get as many during the playoffs if you don't make it. Let's say it's like 400 a week during the playoffs. Let's just say another 3,000 during the playoffs. Okay, 90 is. I'd say 90 is attainable.
By draft?
By the Super Bowl.
By Super Bowl? Yeah.
And then can you get an extra 10 by the end of the draft? I think it's possible. Those free agent streams are nuts again.
Yeah. I think by the
Not
end
if Don Burr keeps
I think by the
unsubbing.
end of the draft, we'll be at like 98, 99, and then we'll cross 100 sometime during the preseason.
All right.
So by week 1, I believe.
Oh, week 1 next year better be a lock. We'll see. You just never know.
It's crazy to think about being at 100K. Get a plaque.
Yeah. Started this channel from 0. Got it up.
Were you here when it was 0?
Yeah, I started. I started this channel.
Oh, that's dope.
Trying, man. Trying. People like Rolly helping us out. Jack getting it off the ground. Rolly's gonna boo in 3, 2, 1. But wouldn't be possible with all you. Someone in the chat. Maybe it was Marsh. That son of a bitch. No.
Might have been Marsh.
F Marsh unsubscribed. All right, let's get into our last.
By the way, we crossed back to 76,000.
Oh, they felt bad.
All the people who trolled and
Harrison at 100,000, you got to go shirtless. Might be down. I have this very original idea if we get to 100,000. Gatorade shower. Isn't that original, Rolly?
I don't think it's ever been done here at Chat
It's never been done
Sports.
at Chat Sports.
I don't think it's ever been done.
We'll come up with some ideas. If you have any ideas for 100K, it'd be fun. We'll have some fun with it. It was Tim Griffin that unsubscribed. All right, our last segment, we're going to take a look at some trade targets. 5 players at some interesting positions that I think could help. let's go ahead and dive in here on the show. If you want the Chicago Bears to make a trade before the NFL trade deadline, like this video. Maybe you want to trade someone away. Maybe you want to bring somebody in. Hit that like button if you want Ryan Poles and the Bears to make a trade, because coming up on today's show, 5 Bears trade targets before the trade deadline. What's up, guys? I'm Harrison Graham from Bears Now by Chat Sports, and we're going to dive into some trade targets in a second, but just some background information here. The trade deadline is on October 31st, so we're getting close, about 3 weeks away. Bears still obviously have needs on their roster. You don't start 0-4 without holes on your roster, and I think something we definitely know is that Ryan Poles isn't scared to make a trade. He's traded key players away. He's brought in numerous players, some that have worked, some that have not. Chase Claypool, DJ Moore, hell yes. So he has not been afraid to pull the trigger. Now, I do wonder over these next few weeks is how much is that Claypool debacle on his mind? Because if you're Ryan Poles as a young GM who's been a little bit under fire early on in his tenure, you can't have a Chase Claypool 2.0 situation. Like, you cannot trade a second-round pick, especially one that ends up being the number 32 overall pick, for a player that gives you nothing. So I do think he'll be a little bit more cautious overall, so keep that in mind. I want to start with 2 players on the same team to kick off today's show because they play the same position and they are on the same team. Montez Sweat, Chase Young, edge rushers for the Washington Commanders, 2 players that the Bears have seen up close for the past 2 years. Young was hurt last year when they played Washington, but they saw him the other night. Obviously, they've seen Sweat twice now, this regime has in the last 2 years, both ironically on Thursday Night Football games. And something to remember, too, when it comes to these 2 players. Both Chase Young and Montez Sweat are 2024 free agents. So if you're looking ahead for Washington, some logic would be that, well, they may have to pick one because they've already paid Daron Payne. They've already paid Jonathan Allen. Now, could they pay one and tag the other? Yeah, it's certainly possible. They could keep both if they really wanted to, but there's a common thought out there that keeping one and letting go of the other or trading the other could be a possibility. Now, you look at what these 2 guys have done this year, they've been really good players, right? They're 2 good pass rushers. Montez Sweat leads in the tackle and sack category, TFLs as well, has 2 forced fumbles to Chase Young's none, but Chase Young is getting a ton of pressure. 27 pressures already in 5 games. Montez Sweat has 19, still a really good number. So he finishes more often, but Chase Young is wreaking havoc more consistently than Montez Sweat. I know a lot of Bears fans have been intrigued by Chase Young for a very long time. And keep an eye on the Washington Commanders. There's a thought, too, that Ron Rivera's hot seat status could really ramp up here. That was a bad loss for him in his tenure there to lose at home by 20 to the Bears. And if a couple more losses stack up, I would not be shocked at all if they fired him midseason and could then opt to trade a few pieces away, including one of Montez Sweat or Chase Young. And maybe a team like the Bears, even if they're not making a move to contend, would view a Montez Sweat or a Chase Young as 2 young pass rushers. You could bring one in to extend for 2 or 3 years and build this roster with. So pick one. Who would you rather have? Type MS for Montez Sweat, CY for Chase Young. Obviously, Young is younger, but he's also had more injuries. Sweat is a little older, but he's been more consistent in the sack department. I'd probably lean Chase Young. I like what I've seen out of him this year. He's causing a lot of problems for opposing quarterbacks, but I'd be open to either. Obviously, price dependent. I would not give up either of my first-round picks to get them. Okay, let's go to our 3rd player here. Courtland Sutton, the wide receiver from the Broncos. Now, this does give me Claypool vibes, like big physical receiver who has been productive at times, unproductive at others. But let's get to that part of it in a second. First, the reason we mentioned him here is the Broncos could be big sellers. That report is already out there. They're looking to trade Frank Clark. They already traded Randy Gregory. They don't like where they're at, so they're going to sell off veteran pieces. Now, Courtland Sutton's only 27 years old, so it's not like he's super old. He's been fairly decent this year, 21 catches, 229, and 3 touchdowns. He's on pace for, quick math here, like 800-yard season and pretty much double-digit touchdowns. I mean, 3 touchdowns in 5 games. That's right on pace for about 10 touchdowns. So, to be a number 2, number 3 type, that's decent. Now, again, I do get Claypool-y vibes here to make this move, but there are reasons that I would consider this, which I will explain here in just a few moments. But first, I do want to tell you guys about our sponsor for today's show, and that is Prize Picks. I gotta be honest, I'm having a blast here with Prize Picks. Daily fantasy sports. I don't have to wait for my typical fantasy leagues for Sundays to get in on the action. I can make picks every single day because it's not just NFL. It's not just college football. It's NBA preseason action. You can get in on the Major League Baseball players as well. And the way it works is you pick 2 to 6 players and go for more or less than their stat projections. For example, on Monday Night Football, I took the less on Jimmy Garoppolo passing yards, took the more on Devontae Adams receiving yards, and that was to win 3x the money. On that one, you can win up to 25 times the money if you do a 6-player pick. 2 to 6 players, that's how it works. To get going with Prize Picks. The more players, the more bang for your buck you can get if you do hit. At Prize Picks, you're not competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks. Get started today. You're going to have a blast. Trust me. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS. They'll give you a deposit match up to $100. That link, PrizePicks.com/CLNS and promo code CLNS is available in the comments and description of this video. Use our link and promo code to get that deposit match. Okay, Courtland Sutton's remaining contract. The reason I'm not just going to completely dismiss this because, oh, God, the Claypool situation, which, again, that should be on Ryan Pohl's mind, is his contract is actually very affordable. Don't worry about the dead cap hit this year because, obviously, if you trade for him, you're not going to cut him this year. But if you don't like what you see, dead cap hit $7.6 million next year. Not a huge deal. Even less than next year, 3.8. And his cap hit is $13.5 million next year, $14 million the year after that. That's pretty controllable money here for a player that's been pretty productive. Now, again, I like Sutton. I would be surprised just because of what happened in the Claypool situation. And I'll add one more caveat, too. I do wonder if in the back of Ryan Pohl's mind, he's already thinking, okay, I might be drafting Marvin Harrison this year. So if I'm doing that, why would I trade for Courtland Sutton? So I don't think it's very likely, but I think his contract's pretty reasonable, and he's a big body receiver that's not a bomb like Claypool, if that makes sense. So just a name to monitor. Denver's in a fire sale. What if they get so desperate they're like, we'll take a 5th for him? I don't think that would happen, but if it's a day 3 pick for Courtland Sutton, I think you could entice me. Okay, Bryce Huff, the Jets edge rusher. We've talked about him before here on this channel because in the offseason we were looking for tons of avenues to get an edge rusher in here to bolster this pass rush. Now, his raw stats will not jump off the page. They just will not. But he is a pass rushing menace when he gets opportunities. Look at his PFF grades this year, okay? 77 overall, 76 pass rush rate. He has 26 pressures so far this year. He's only played 107 total snaps, 87 pass rush snaps. 26 of 87 pass rush snaps, he's getting a pressure. That's pretty damn efficient, guys. Like, that's a very good pressure rate. He's just buried in New York. That defensive line is absolutely loaded. He's like their 5th edge. But they even still rotate him in because as a situational rusher, he gets home often. Now, is he as impactful as an every down player? I don't know. But can he play more than what he is? I mean, 87 pass rush snaps in 5 games. That's what? 15 a game or so? 17 a game or so? I mean, can he handle 30 pass rush snaps a game and keep up that pressure rate at a pretty similar clip? If he can, there are some reasons to bring him in here. He's only 25 years old, for one. So he's a guy who is on a 1-year deal right now, so I think you'd want to extend him. His pressure rate at almost 30% is just outrageous. And I know he's playing next to good dudes, but he's been doing this for a couple years now. Like, this is not just this season. I don't think a trade would be that massive in terms of how much you'd have to give up. I doubt it would be a day 2 pick. You're probably looking at like a 4th or 5th. And I don't think an extension would cost that much either because he's not proven as a starter. So you could maybe get him on like a 2-year, $12 million extension. And then if he's doubling his snaps and still as productive, you're like, this is one of the best contracts in the NFL. So he's an under-the-radar player, but if the Jets were open to moving him, I would be very intrigued to bring Bryce Huff in here because I think he deserves a bigger opportunity. One more guy here, Derrick Brown, the defensive tackle for the Carolina Panthers. Now, If you're thinking Derrick Brown, where does that sound familiar? Well, I'll tell you in a second where you've probably heard that name before. First, again, you look at the raw stats. It's not like going to step out to you, right? He's at times he's been more of a run stopper. He's more of a penetrator, and guys around him finish plays, like Brian Burns, for example, on that defensive line. But remember, when the Bears were negotiating with the Panthers to trade down from the number 1 pick, they had 3 players they were interested in. DJ Moore, who they wanted the most and got, Brian Burns, and Derrick Brown. Now, I think if Derrick Brown ended up being the player, they would have probably gotten an extra premium pick because I don't think is as valuable as a Brian Burns or DJ Moore. But Ryan Poles liked Derrick Brown a lot. He mentioned his name during those negotiations. So you've already got that in place. I'm intrigued by this. I don't know what you would trade to get him. I mean, is it a day 2 pick? Again, I'm not trading a first-round pick. 3rd? 2nd? I don't know if I want to trade a 2nd, maybe a future 2nd, maybe that 2025 2nd. You could say, hey, Carolina, we'll give you your 2nd next year back, the one you gave us in the DJ Moore trade. I could potentially be open to that, but Derrick Brown is a guy that you could plug under this defensive line. He's 25 years old. Get more of a pass rushing D lineman. Maybe Javon Dexter ends up being that guy playing next to him. Dexter had 6 pressures last week, but there's no doubt you got to bolster that group. Not just this year, but long term. So I just thought it was a name worth mentioning. Carolina's 0-5. They could look to recoup some capital after trading up last year with Chicago, obviously, and Derrick Brown is one of their stronger pieces. All right, there you go. 5 Bears trade targets to keep an eye on here over the next few weeks. Both of the edge rushers in Washington, Chase Young, Montez Sweat. Courtland Sutton, I doubt it happens. It just feels Claypool-y to me, even though Sutton doesn't have the off-the-field concerns. Bryce Huff, the edge in New York, and then Derrick Brown, the Carolina defensive tackle. Now, name a player that the Bears should trade for. Shout his name out in the comments. Maybe I'm forgetting somebody. I'm sure someone's going to say Brian Burns. The reason I didn't mention him is they want to get a premium receiver. I guess in theory you could trade them a premium pick and then they flip that for a receiver, but I just don't think the Bears are going to get Brian Burns in a trade. I would be surprised, but drop a name down in the comments right now. And be sure to subscribe because if the Bears do make a trade for any player or trade away a player, we're going to have it covered. We're going to go live here on Chicago Bears Now, just like we did when Chase Claypool got traded. So we are the channel for you. Subscribe and turn on those notifications. All right, what are the people saying? What are the people saying? Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. No love for centers and interior linemen. I just don't think, here's the thing, the reason I didn't mention any offensive linemen, teams don't trade good offensive linemen in the middle of a season. They just don't. That's why I didn't mention them. You could get depth, but you've got center depth, right? You've got 3-4 centers right now. Like, I mean, maybe a team that's bad has a starting center they're willing to trade, but who is that? I can't think of one. Michael Pittman Jr., okay, interesting. I doubt they'd want to trade a young top weapon for Anthony Richardson. Randy Gregory got traded to the Niners. He's not available. Jonah Williams, okay, that's an interesting one from Cincy. I don't know how he's been playing this year. DeForest Buckner, Flus connection, maybe. I'd buy low on him. I don't even know what he's been doing this year. Let's see. DeForest Buckner. What has he done this season? He has 2 sacks. Okay, 2 sacks in 5 games. Not bad. Has a forced fumble. Okay, it's been decent. Been pretty decent. On pace for what, 7 sacks? It's good for an interior guy. Let's see. Nick Bosa. Sign Chandler Jones. No way. Chandler Jones will never play in the NFL again, I don't think. He will never play in the NFL again. Chase Young. Josh Allen from Jacksonville. He's a name that's been mentioned before, but Jacksonville's a playoff team. Like, that's the thing, too. When you come up with these trade target videos, you're not getting players from contenders typically.
Yeah, right?
Because they're not going to trade them away. Like, maybe the Jets get into the mix and they would still be willing to trade a Bryce Huff, but, again, it's Bryce Huff. It's not like they're going to trade Quinnen Williams. So that's the tricky part about it. So be thinking about good players on bad teams. That's why teams might come calling the Bears if they lose a couple more games. Like I mentioned Jaylon Johnson. Could he be a player that gets traded to a CB needy team? If the Bears win their next 2 games, I don't think they'll sell off. But if they lose them, or if they lose one of them, they might. They might. All right, guys. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. We are going to get out of here. Rolly and I appreciate you guys. I think we're back over 76,000. That hurt, man.
We are.
That hurt. Oh, we're way above. They came back. They rallied. 76,013 subscribers.
I don't want to show it, though, anymore.
I know.
Because every time I show it, they just unsubscribe on purpose.
It's tough. It's a cold world, Rolly.
It's an evil world we live in.
I know. Tough scenes out there. Sign Mia Khalifa. My goodness. All right. We are going to get out of here. Shout out to Rolly for hanging with us as always. Appreciate all of you. My name is Harrison Graham. Have a fantastic rest of your Monday.